there is a song, the song I should say, that thousands upon thousands of Christians have been singing and singing non-stop, making it the most sung song of the past year. This song is "The Goodness of God" by Bethel Church.
Oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. And all my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God.
The Goodness of God was released in 2019, and yet it still resounds on thousands of church buildings every Sunday. This basic and core belief that the creator of the universe is good has been controversial and revolutionary for thousands of years, challenging previous conceptions of the divine. But more specifically, why do we sing of the goodness of God? Why do we modern people think that God is good? I mean, if you were to ask any regular Christian this question, I'm sure you would get two answers. The correct one and the real one. The official or correct one goes along the lines of God is good because it's God's nature. That is who God is. It's their character. Just as God is love, God is also good. But now let's go to the real answer. Why do we really think that God is good? This is actually good. Why do people here in North America and in the West think and believe that God is good? Well, I think it's because we see it. I think that is the most basic answer and the real answer here. Because goodness cannot just be a philosophical idea that's in our heads. We need to see it. Just like love is a verb. Love is a verb. Goodness also is and needs to be a verb. That is how we measure when something or someone is good. We do it mainly through our personal experience, our lived experience. Good. And don't get me wrong, any Christian from doesn't matter which part of the world can find evidence of God's goodness. But it just seems that for people here in the West, that task is a lot easier. Getting cancer treatment in Bolivia, for once, the country where I was born, is not the same as getting cancer treatment here in Vancouver, Canada. It's not. Many Christians profess that God is good because, like the psalmist, they have seen the goodness of God in the land of the living through the systems that meet their needs and desires, through their access to better education, better health, transportation, job opportunities, great options for loans and credit cards. We have evidence of this goodness in and through the things that most people on earth do not have access to. We have evidence of it in and through our privilege. So, does our privilege here in the West, here in North America specifically, does it have a direct correlation with our modern understanding of what the goodness of God is? Well, absolutely yes. And this is not even scratching the surface of the difficult predicament we modern people find ourselves in every time we sing about the goodness of God. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Company Banana Inc. is hiring for a full-time job in their finance department. They have recently received 5 very similar and excellent resumes from these very capable people: Henry Adebayo, Jennifer Singh, Steven Erickson, Helen Choi, and Pedro Martinez. From this group, who do you think is the most likely to receive a call back for an interview? Or like young people do, like this, a call back from an interview in a possible hire? Well, as a matter of fact, we don't even need to guess. We have enough studies that tells us that Steven Erickson has a much higher chance of getting that phone call and eventually getting hired. His chances are 250% higher than the rest, mainly based off of his name alone. So we can imagine Steven Erickson opening the door of his house, looking for his wife just to tell her, honey, they just called me from that new job we've been praying for, and they want me to meet with them tomorrow. Oh, God is so good.
All my life you have been faithful.
There's even a Harvard studies that shows us that whitening our name, our resume, our entire resume would definitely increase our chances of getting that job we've been fighting for. The reality is that our dear, dear Steven Erickson is not only reading correlation into this event, but actually divine causation. It is God who did this. It is God who caused it. It happened because it was God's will. It was God's guidance and God's providence, the reason why he got the job. So, was this particular moment in history an evidence of the goodness of God? Or was this really the evidence of a very destructive racial bias? If we're calling this systems that opens doors for some people and closes those doors for others solely based on race, God being good, then we are blind and have just canonized inequality. If we're calling the system that's at the core of this racial disparity God being good, then we are oblivious to the suffering of others and have just sanctified injustice. What you might consider a gift from God, that tacit system that privileges you on a regular basis, has been having horrendous effect on other people of color. The reality is that if white Christians keep either consciously or unconsciously looking or considering these systems as the goodness of God in action, then nothing will ever freaking change. If we were honest with ourselves, honest for a bit, how much have we used the beautiful song, The Goodness of God, as a celebration of the systems that meet our needs, that at the same time neglect and oppress others in the back end? But does this mean that I'm exempt from all responsibility and privilege just because I have this chocolate honey skin? I wish. Let me use the simple fact that I'm fluent in English as an example. I try to be fluent. You have no idea how much I have to edit these videos. There is a worldwide system that made it so that anyone who wants to be somebody and wants to communicate not only with the big dogs, but with the rest of the world has to do it in English. You have to try to dominate English, whether you want it or not. Now, was this system where the English language dominates the rest of the world put there by God? Absolutely not. No. Very powerful men made it so this is the reality of the world. Now, if you, my friend, just happen to have been born in a country where the official language is English and you're a native English speaker, you are very privileged, and I mean very. A world of opportunities opens up to you and you're not even aware of that. You don't have to learn a brand new language from scratch just to level the communication playing field. Do you realize that most ESL people like me will never be able to communicate in English in the way and as fluently as a native speaker can? And that puts us at a disadvantage every time? I mean, it's just like the prophet Sofia Vergara said.
You should try talking in my shoes from 1 mile.
I think you meant...
I know what I meant to mean. Do you even know how smart I am in Spanish? Of course you don't.
The reason why I find myself here in Vancouver, Canada, in a very privileged position is because I can't speak English. Even though I had to earn this gift, and this gift cost my parents literal hell, I do speak English. And even though I earned this, I most definitely acknowledge the privilege, the gift that my parents gave me. How much of your experience of the goodness of God, aka your access to food from all over the world, technology, great transportation, is built off the backs and the suffering of other less powerful countries in the global south? How much has the song The Goodness of God in many cases become a celebration of white supremacy? But what if you're part of the group that currently cannot see the goodness of God being manifested in their lives, in the lives of their loved ones? Well, I want to invite you to hold on to what the psalmist said in Psalm 72. I remain confident of this. I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Okay, thank you. But what if you are most definitely not confident that you'll see the goodness of God in the land of the living like the psalmist said? Well, there's also space for you too. Because after all, if God is indeed good, He won't mind you thinking otherwise. Just take your time. So, what do we do now? Should we stop singing and proclaiming the goodness of God? Well, this is my hope for us all, to become self-aware of our own privilege, to understand that in most cases, there's a flip side to our experience of the goodness of God. A flip side that neither you nor I will want for ourselves nor for our families. A flip side where people are getting the worst side of the stick. To realize that we need to understand the goodness of God from the minds and experience of the people in the margins. Let us ask in reverent silence what people in Gaza think about the goodness of God, how racial minorities understand what the goodness of God really is, and to challenge ourselves to become the goodness of God for others in a non-paternalistic or infantilizing way. The songs we sing at church are extremely important for our mental health and for our theology. So I want to invite you to click right over here to find out what are the 10 most played songs at churches in North America right now. See you there.